Hey there everybody, welcome to another episode of Bert's Bike. And today we are taking out the Southern Distances R9T, or specifically the R9T Urban GS. What a sweet bike! If you've been following my channel, you'll know that I have owned a BMW R18 and I've actually never ridden the R9T, so let's give it a shot. Looks amazing. This color scheme is awesome. All right, here we go. Ooh, super lightweight. Ooh. Oh, these mirrors are up high. It's a little more tippy than I thought it would be. Rain mode, road. Let's go with road. Ooh. Wow, this is very different than I thought it would feel. See what it's like when I get on the road. Woo! Wow. It's a ton of fun. Let's get a couple miles on it and then we'll kind of talk about it. Right off the bat though, these mirrors are high up there. Didn't realize how much they stick up from the bike, but it puts them exactly where they need to be, actually. I do love this tank shape too. It fits my knees perfectly. Alright, so right away, there's a lot of room up here. I mean, the reach to the bars is surprisingly a long way. It is definitely really putting you engaged in the ride. You're really kind of lean forward, but you're still seeing a lot of the bike in front of you. I was actually just on that SV650, and that is quite the opposite. You're a lot more lean forward and you don't see much of the bike at all. Now this bike, you do see a lot of it. Whew. Feels like there's a ton of power on this bike. Alright, so the throttle does have a little bit more of that on-off feel to it, and isn't that linear feeling. So the throttle starts out nice and easy, and then there's like, so it kind of starts out and then it kind of ramps up pretty hard, but it's nothing you can't get used to. And this is on the standard mode. Maybe I'll flip it into sport mode here in a second, see what that's all about. The brakes are super responsive. The front brake is, whew, it's got some bite to it. It feels really good. Yeah, the takeoff is a little vague, I have to say. The only BMW I have experience with is my R18, and that's kind of the same way, actually, surprisingly. It must be a boxer engine characteristic. You know, kind of has a little bit of that throttle lag and then the sudden jump there. This R9T, though, it's an experience riding this bike. It definitely has its own vibe. What a beautiful day, look at this. Yeah. Woo. Like I was saying earlier, there's a ton of room here. It's kind of a lean towards the bars. Kind of reminds me of my W800. When you sit on the bike, there's a lean forward, and then you kind of are going to the handlebars. So there's that. But you know, surprisingly, man, I could get back super far with this seat, even onto the passenger seat. So you can go from, you know, like really up on the front of the seat to get more of a standard ergonomic, scoot back a little bit in a more sporty stance, or you can go all the way back and get kind of right into the ride, and you're sort of sitting on the passenger seat at that point. But all in all, there's a lot. It feels like a lot of room here. Also, the seat, it's really squishy and it contours to you. And for a stock seat, that's kind of awesome. I do love this speedometer though. I'm a real big fan of analog gauges and clusters. I prefer really not to have any digital stuff. Like, I don't mind little LCD things like this has, but oof. Man, there's tons of torque on this bike. I'm literally having to hold on. Wow. This is cool. Yeah, man. I have to say this bike is super responsive. Like leaning into turns, counter steering. Just feels very, very planted and sure of itself. There is a lot of vibration in the handlebars, more so than I expected. You would think that the bike like the R18 would have more vibes, and it probably does, but this is kind of a smaller displacement. It just feels like there are a lot of smaller vibrations that you're noticing on this bike. That wind fly, it's not really doing much. It's there for some aesthetic, but it is directing the wind just slightly over and then down a little bit. Kind of like how my Z900's fairing works. Alright, let's open it up here. Whoa! Woo! Wow. I mean, whew. What a fun bike. I mean, this is just, wow. I feel like you could use a different seat on here, maybe one with a little lip to keep you on the bike, because I was having to hold onto the handlebars pretty hard to keep from sliding back on the seat. There's a whole lot of power here for sure, a lot of usable power. And man, once you get this thing going, riding it around like this is freaking awesome. Wow. I can see why this bike is such a classic for BMW. It's just, whoa, here we go. Yeah, I can see why this bike's a classic, man. It's got all the right power in all the right places. Feels great, handles great. Looks the business. So if I didn't have my Z900 already, when I bought my R18, there was this bike too that was in the showroom. And it would have been a hard choice if I didn't already have my Z900, but that Z900 RS is definitely, for me, like the ultimate sort of modern retro bike. But this is a lot of fun too. And I could see why people love this bike so much. I mean, just in these corners here, I just feel super confident. I mean, I've only ridden this bike a few minutes, and I feel super confident getting it up to speed. Kind of bombing through these back roads. I'm not really a terribly fast rider, only when I'm testing out bikes I like to kind of see what they can do. But in my everyday normal riding, I'm generally just taking it easy for the most part. Let's see how it handles this curve here. Trail braking just a bit. Yeah, just easy to get locked in and sweep through these turns. Very cool. Wow. So, riding this bike now a few minutes, getting it up to speed, giving it some beans. There isn't really much vibration anywhere else but on the handlebars. And although I don't really mind that vibration, I could see that being a problem on longer trips. And so that could come down to the gloves that you have, but if you end up putting some bar end weights in there or something, I don't know. But this is just an absolute joy of a motorcycle to ride. Whew. I know they're two drastically different bikes, but if you're looking into the classic line for BMW, you could either go the cruiser route, or you could go the sort of standard, what I call roadster route. And these are both under the heritage line for BMW. And if I only had one bike, I would probably still pick my R18. But yeah, this is just a different thing. I mean, the R18, in my opinion, is just one of the best cruisers out there. The only reason why I'm comparing them is the sticker price on these are, I think they're very different. But at the time when I bought my R18, believe it or not, these are about the same price, within $1,000 of each other, maybe even less than that. So I think if you only had one bike to do everything from commuting to Sunday fun to riding with friends on the highway, I think this is a better overall bike. The R18 is definitely like a one-trick pony. And the thing about these standard motorcycles and these kind of roadsters is that, you know, a lot of people outfit them for some mild off-roading anyway. There's the R9T Scrambler with some off-roadish tires on there. You know, I'm not saying you need to go tear this up on a really tight single track or anything like that, but, you know, if you're doing some fire roads every now and then, or if the roads you live at aren't the best and they're kind of chewed up and all that kind of stuff, like, this is definitely an ultimate all-arounder. Wow. So just straight up riding experiences, this is one of the best first rides I've experienced, as far as like it kind of blowing me away right off the bat. This bike is freaking sweet, dude. Yep. I guess I'm gonna put it in sport mode. See what dirt, rain. Oh, it's road or dirt. So they know some people are doing some off-roading with this bike. A little grom there. So they already have a dirt mode dialed in. That's pretty cool. Yeah, this has got to be one of the top bikes I've ridden for sure. So this isn't a long-term review or anything. This is just the first impressions of the bike. And as far as, again, like first time on the bike, this is one of the best first impressions I've ever had on a motorcycle. This is super sweet. Instant, wow. If it were my bike, I would probably get rid of these mirrors. I think they do the job very, very well. They're in the right place. They do the right thing. They work very, very well. However, they just look a little off to me. And, you know, one actually sits a little lower and one sits a little higher. They're kind of different stems here, so it's a little goofy, but it's not that big of a deal. But I could see this just being even more fun with some bar-in mirrors here. Yeah, I think I would even go as far as, if I were going to take this on some dirt, I'd probably put some handguards on here, some Acerbis or Bark Busters. I think the Acerbis X Factory bars really look awesome on this motorcycle. If this were my bike, that would be the ultimate move. Mark's already got some crash bars there from Unit Garage, and this is one of the few instances where the crash bars to me actually enhance the aesthetic of this bike. On my R18, I could never find some crash bars that I thought looked amazing on that bike, and so I just never put them on there. But yeah, this is an amazing ride. Woo! Freaking awesome. Just a really quick on wind management. Incredible wind management. I mean, I was almost at 100 miles an hour there, and I felt like I could be on traveling 75, 85 all day. This is sweet, man. Woo! All right. Do tight U-turn. Wow. Ooh. Yeah, super easy. Yeah, I think it's gonna sound a little cliche, but it feels almost what I thought it would feel like after owning the R18. And we are in, baby. All right, let's actually do a little sound check on this thing. And then of course it does the classic BMW hit. Woo! Pushing to the left. It never got old on my BMW. Let's do a quick sound check. Woo, you can also notice the bike shifting there. This one seems to be moving to the right. I felt like my R18 moved to the left, but it's awesome. Little top box on there. Yeah, what a beautiful machine. Wow. Yeah, I love this headlight. I think it's the same one that was on the R18. High fender with the rear mudguard is super sweet. Wow. Woo! Awesome bike. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment below. It's Bert's Bike, and I'll catch you on the next one. Here's the one thing I hated about my R18 that this bike has. It's the mechanical key, people.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, I hated the key fob on my bike.
I love a real key.
And the key fob on my bike, every few months you'd have to change out the battery. Not cool, BMW. Put the mechanical key on the R18. No one cares about the fob. Also, BMW just nailed it with the styling on this bike. Ooh, baby. Heck yeah. Look at that.